Donald Trump is pushing his dirty DOJ officials to take revenge on Senator Adam Schiff and criminally charge him with something, anything, even though there is exactly zero evidence that Senator Schiff committed any crime.
What happens when a long-running political rivalry moves from fiery speeches and committee hearings into the heart of the nation's most powerful law enforcement institutions? Today, we explore how former President Donald Trump, back in the White House, is using the FBI and Justice Department to escalate his decade-long feud with Senator Adam Schiff. A feud that began years ago during investigations into Russian election interference and has now become one of Washington's most defining political battles. Stay tuned as we break down how this fight has unfolded, what documents have been declassified, why federal investigations are back in the spotlight, and what it all means for the future of political accountability in the United States. The origins of a rivalry, the Trump-Schiff feud, did not emerge overnight. It traces back to 2017 when then-Representative Adam Schiff was the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Schiff was a leading figure in investigating Russian interference in the 2016 election, including whether Trump's campaign had any connections to Moscow. Trump, newly in office at the time, dismissed these inquiries as partisan witch hunts. Schiff, however, became one of the most prominent public faces of the investigations. His sharp questioning in committee hearings and frequent media appearances positioned him as a central figure in efforts to hold Trump accountable. This adversarial dynamic deepened in 2019, when Schiff led the first impeachment trial against Trump over the withholding of military aid to Ukraine. Schiff became a household name, both celebrated among Democrats and vilified in Trump's political circles. Schiff and January 6th, a defining chapter. Even after Trump left office, Schiff's role did not diminish. As a member of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th, 2021, attack on the U.S. Capitol, Schiff once again confronted Trump's actions directly. The committee examined Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election, culminating in televised hearings that captivated the nation. For Trump, Schiff became not only a critic, but a symbol of the establishment forces aligned against him. The rivalry had grown from political disagreements into a deeply personal battle. Fast forward to today, with Trump back in power, the tables have turned. And this time, Trump is not only pushing back through words, but leveraging the machinery of the federal government. FBI notes and new allegations. A key development came when FBI Director Kash Patel declassified internal FBI interview notes, known as 302s, from a former House Intelligence Committee staffer. These notes, covering interviews from 2017, 2019, and 2023, allege that Schiff directed illegal leaks of classified information related to Trump and Russia. The former staffer even claimed Schiff told committee members that leaking classified details would help build a case to indict Trump. Such explosive allegations, if true, would mark serious misconduct. But context matters. These claims were already reviewed by federal prosecutors during Trump's first term. At that time, investigators questioned the staffer's credibility and noted he provided little reliable evidence. The Justice Department's Inspector General later reported that the staffer was considered of unknown reliability. Despite this, Trump seized on the reemergence of the allegations. Speaking at the Kennedy Center on August 13th, he declared, "It was a hoax created by the Democrats, but in particular Schiff, Crooked Hillary, the whole group." He then called on Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate further, signaling his intent to reignite the feud with new vigor. Legal referrals and Justice Department involvement. Beyond the FBI documents and declassified interview notes, Schiff now finds himself facing scrutiny from additional corners of the federal government. The director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, a Trump ally with close ties to the administration, referred Schiff to the Justice Department over allegations of mortgage fraud, a serious charge that, if substantiated, could have far-reaching consequences. The referral itself drew immediate headlines not only because of its gravity, but because it mirrored past attempts to raise similar claims during Trump's first term in office. Schiff's legal team moved quickly to push back against the reports. His attorneys described the allegations as transparently false, stale, and long debunked. pointing out that these claims had circulated years earlier and never withstood serious legal review. They emphasized that prosecutors and investigators who had previously examined the matter found no evidence to support the charges. To Schiff's camp, the referral was not a genuine legal concern, but rather a renewed attempt to recycle old accusations in a new political climate. Even so, the Justice Department confirmed that a grand jury investigation was opened, not only into Schiff but also into New York Attorney General Letitia James, another Democrat who has been a frequent critic of Trump. James, like Schiff, has clashed with Trump over legal and political battles, most notably through civil actions targeting Trump's businesses and the National Rifle Association. While the Justice Department framed the investigations as part of routine procedure, critics argued that the timing and nature of the probes reflected the broader theme of political retribution. Preet Bharara, the respected former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, and now Schiff's personal attorney, spoke out forcefully against the developments. He warned that these moves represented more than just a legal process. In his words, any supposed investigation led by him would by the very definition of weaponization of the justice process. For Bharara and others watching closely, the question was not simply whether the allegations against Schiff had merit, but whether the machinery of justice was being directed at political opponents in a way that threatened the independence of American institutions. A history of retaliation, Trump's strategy of responding to critics by pursuing them through the federal government, is not unique to Schiff, though Schiff has become one of the most enduring targets. Over the years, Trump has repeatedly directed public criticism and legal pressure at those who investigated him, ranging from state prosecutors to members of Congress, and even former officials who once served in his administration. CNN reported that New York Attorney General Letitia James, who brought high-profile civil actions against Trump and the NRA, also became the subject of a Justice Department referral alleging mortgage fraud. Her legal team dismissed those allegations as baseless and long discredited, noting that they had circulated in political circles before without producing actionable evidence. The repetition of these claims, even after they had failed to hold up in prior investigations, suggested to many observers that the goal was less about legal accountability and more about keeping critics tied up in defensive battles. This broader pattern reflects how Trump has often used investigations and referrals as tools of political counterattack. For his supporters, these efforts represent a form of balance, ensuring that Trump's opponents are held to the same standard he believes he has faced. For detractors, however, they raise concerns about the potential politicization of justice. Schiff's situation illustrates this dynamic vividly, as one of the most prominent figures to challenge Trump in Congress. Through both impeachment proceedings and the January 6th investigation, he remains the most consistent and high-profile target of these tactics. The result is a cycle of escalation. Each time Schiff plays a central role in holding Trump accountable, new investigations or allegations seem to surface against him, reinforcing the perception that political conflict is spilling over into the realm of federal law enforcement. Schiff's defiance and political resilience. If Trump's aim has been to weaken Schiff through public criticism, censure votes, and now federal investigations, the outcome has often been the opposite. Schiff has repeatedly leaned into his role as one of Trump's most vocal and visible antagonists. Rather than distancing himself from the conflict, he has framed it as a test of strength and principles, reinforcing his image as a politician who refuses to be intimidated. When House Republicans voted to censure him in 2023 over his handling of Trump-Russia allegations, Schiff did not downplay the rebuke. Instead, he embraced it as a political asset, calling it a badge of honor. For Schiff, the censure underscored that his work had struck a nerve with Trump and his allies, something he portrayed as proof that his investigations mattered. His public defiance has extended beyond the halls of Congress. During an appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Schiff looked straight into the camera, acknowledging the years of threats and accusations Trump had leveled against him. His words were blunt, direct, and carried the kind of theatrical defiance that resonated with many in his base. Ever since I led his first impeachment, he's threatened me with jail and prosecution and called me a traitor and accused me of treason. So I just want to direct this Donald piss off. Such moments have only reinforced Schiff's political resilience. Far from shrinking under pressure, he has built his public identity around the willingness to challenge Trump, no matter the personal or professional costs. That stance helped him become a fundraising powerhouse among Democrats and ultimately contributed to his successful Senate campaign in 2024, where his reputation as a defiant opponent of Trump became a central theme. Rather than retreating in the face of investigations and criticism, Schiff has positioned himself as a politician prepared to confront political retaliation head-on. His strategy demonstrates not only personal resilience, but also a calculation that standing firm against Trump enhances rather than diminishes his political influence. Declassified documents and the question of credibility. One of the most intriguing aspects of the current dispute is the role of the declassified FBI documents. Patel, who once worked for Republican Representative Devin Nunes on the Intelligence Committee, framed the release as a matter of transparency, writing on X, "We found it. We declassified it." Now Congress can see how classified info was leaked to shape political narratives and decide if our institutions were weaponized against the American people. Yet the credibility of the staffer's claims remains in doubt. The Inspector General's prior report noted that prosecutors viewed the staffer as unreliable. Furthermore, the individual had been dismissed from the committee in 2017 over unrelated issues, according to congressional officials. Critics argue that resurfacing the documents serves more of a political narrative than a legal one. Schiff's spokesperson called the allegations absolutely and categorically false, and accused the Trump administration of trying to distract from unrelated controversies, such as the Jeffrey Epstein files. The bigger picture weaponization of government. This episode underscores a broader debate unfolding in Washington. The question of whether the Justice Department and FBI are being used as tools of political retaliation. Ed Martin, tapped as a director of the Justice Department's Weaponization Working Group, suggested in a Fox News interview that investigations into Schiff and James could be extensive. If somebody did something wrong, we're not only going to hold them accountable, we're also going to look at everything else that they've been doing. The very existence of such a weaponization working group highlights the sensitivity of these issues. For critics, it raises alarms about the independence of justice institutions. For supporters, it represents an effort to ensure accountability across political lines. At the heart of this debate lies a fundamental question: where is the line between legitimate investigation and political retribution? A rivalry that shapes American politics, the Trump-Schiff saga is more than just a clash between two individuals. It represents the broader polarization of American politics. Schiff embodies the persistent Democratic push to hold Trump accountable, while Trump symbolizes the Republican determination to fight back against what he views as unfair treatment. Over nearly a decade, their rivalry has spanned congressional hearings, impeachment trials, televised committee proceedings, and now federal investigations. Each chapter has raised stakes not only for the individuals involved, but for the institutions of government themselves. Whether the investigations into Schiff will produce meaningful outcomes or remain symbolic gestures, they mark the latest escalation in a feud that shows no sign of ending. The Trump-Schiff rivalry is a story of persistence, politics, and power. What began in the aftermath of the 2016 election has now evolved into a defining struggle between two figures determined not to back down. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who want to understand the deeper story behind Washington's latest battle, and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth, neutral analysis on the political events shaping our world.